Hi everyone, good morning. Great to see you all. Happy Friday. It's Friday. Good to have you all joining me this morning for tea with me. So welcome to tea with me. I'm having my lemon and orange fusion, which has become one of my favorites. So I'm having that this morning. I see Christine with her healthy fasting waters and stuff. So Christine is having eggplant water with lemon, and she said it's good for bloating, it lowers cholesterol, it's a lot of benefits. And her husband Robert is having masala chai with cinnamon. Sounds delicious. And Marissa went all healthy on us today, and she's having ginger tea. And then we have Yolan with some Milo and bay leaf, which sounds like a childhood favorite, when you get to the Milos and stuff. So it's wonderful. Great to have you all joining me today. I'm excited to share today. I have a little video that I want to share with us as part of the sharing. So stick with me, hang in there, and see this cute little video. I mean, I just love it. So share, like, and subscribe so that we could get it out there, right? So I promised one Wednesday, when we shared about us talking about, that scripture that we know, honor your father and your mother, and it is the first commandment with promise. And we're sharing that all relationships, really, not just the ones where you honor your mother and father, but we realize that all relationships, when you honor each other, whether it's wives, husbands, everyone, when we honor, there are blessings, there are promises, rewards that comes with it. And we looked at that. And interestingly, right after those scriptures where it talks about, fathers honoring their children and the children honoring their parents, they speak about an interesting relationship, which is the one that I wanted to zero in on today. And that is the relationship between masters and servants. Now, in our time, we wouldn't say masters and servants. We would say employers and employees. We would say managers and subordinates, supervisors and subordinates, right? So we will relate it in that way because, it's not servants in the way that they understood servants at the time, but it's a beautiful principle. And I realize that it's something that's close to the Lord's heart. And that's the little video clip that I'm going to show you. It's a little video. You would remember that I had shown a video before of Tomi Arayomi. He is a prophet that I follow, but he had an interesting experience that I want to share, right? So stick with me until then. So I want to talk a little bit about this masters and servants because it relates to us regardless of where we are in life. Because all of us, we are answerable to somebody or we're serving somebody. So we fall into each category at different times, right? So Ephesians chapter 6, 5 to 9, I'm not going to read out the whole thing, but basically what it's saying is that servants should be obedient, unto their masters and do it as unto the Lord. It's saying you shouldn't be doing it with eye service and don't be men pleasers. In other words, we need to be God pleasers. So if you're on the job, whatever you're doing, you need to have that mind, and this is what the scripture is bringing out. Don't just do what you're supposed to do because the supervisor is there or the manager is there or, and if you are a supervisor, because your boss is there, don't do it with eye service, but do it as unto the Lord. Do it as though you are serving the Lord. And it goes on to say, in verse 7, it says, serve with goodwill, doing service, with goodwill, doing service, as to the Lord and not to men. All right? So it makes that very clear. And it says, knowing that whatsoever good thing any man does, the same shall he receive of the Lord, whether he be bond or free. Right? And in those cases, just whether you were a slave or not. For us, we're not talking about the slave part, but he's saying that any good thing that you do, you're going to find that you will reap a reward from the Lord. You're going to receive the same from the Lord. So if we serve heartily, God serves us heartily. If we don't do things with man service and all, with eye service and all of this, the Lord deals with us in that same kind of way. And then it says something, so that's the servants it was talking to, but then it addresses the masters, which would be the employers, the managers, supervisors. And so it says, managers and supervisors, all you masters, do the same things unto those who are under you. Do the same things. He says, hold back on your threatenings and don't be harsh and cruel and so, right? But do the same thing. What does he mean by do the same things? He's saying that masters should treat those under them in the same way as how you would treat Jesus, right? Do it as unto the Lord. Do it with goodwill as unto the Lord, right? So masters, we are to treat our staff, treat those under us with goodwill as if we are doing it for the Lord. And I found this was so beautiful, because how would we treat Jesus if Jesus was somebody working under us? And you say, how could Jesus possibly, we can't even picture it. How could Jesus be working under us? How could we be the employer? Right? That Jesus could be an employee of ours, a subordinate of ours. But look at it as in the sense that when Jesus was upon the earth, Jesus was a carpenter. He did not have one of those, prestigious jobs or whatever. He wasn't any manager in any company. He wasn't any job owner, in that kind of way. He was a carpenter in the flesh. Right? Yes, he was healing people and everything, but he was a carpenter. And so could you imagine if Jesus walked on the earth today and the role that he chose to take up was not the CEO of some company or, some big high job, but what if he chose to take a less prestigious job? And I don't want to list any jobs because I don't want anybody to feel that I'm looking down on a job. But we know that some jobs are prestigious and some are not. Right? They're just not. And so what if Jesus chose to take one of the less prestigious jobs, which means he would be answerable to others. He would be working for others, and it would have been very possible in our time. I don't think Jesus would have come as some big CEO of some company. Just think about it. Born in a stable, right? Born in a stable. But how would we treat him? How would we treat him if that is where he was? Because while he was a carpenter in the flesh, he was doing miracles and stuff, even as a carpenter. But look at what happened in his day. In Mark chapter 6, from verse 3 to 5, look at how they looked at him. It said, they said they saw him doing miracles and stuff. He was sharing the word. He was doing all of that. But they said, listen, is not this the carpenter? Isn't he the carpenter? Isn't he Mary and those boys down the road? Isn't he their family, like Mary's son and the brothers and sisters, and they, James and Joses and Judah and Simon? He said, but how he doing miracles, right? And they said, and they were offended at him because of his status, right? And because they figured you're a carpenter, you're ordinary. And that's what I want to get at. He was ordinary. And so how would we, if we happen to be the boss for Jesus, because it says, serve, we are supposed to serve now, or be masters, right? Or managers or whatever in some rulership position, doing it as if we are doing it unto Jesus. So I want to make that real to us. How would we treat Jesus if he was in our employ? Right? And so I'm addressing the part of managers right now. We're going to get to the beautiful part of servanthood in a minute, right? But what kind of bosses would we be? The scripture continues. It said, and Jesus said to them, hear what he said. He said, a prophet is not without honor, but in his own country and among his own kin and in his own house. We're talking about honoring. Remember, I said that as we honor, it draws blessings. There's a reward for when we honor. And Jesus is saying, he is realizing that a prophet, and he's seeing himself as a prophet, as a man of God. He said he's not without honor. That's the only place he doesn't get honor. Because they see you as ordinary. They see you as familiar. And I mentioned familiarity sometime before, I believe, in one of the earlier sessions. Because that familiarity causes people, or when they see you as ordinary, it causes people not to honor in the same way. And the principle of scripture is, regardless of how you see people, regardless of how ordinary they appear, we are supposed to treat them with honor, right? That familiarity thing is one of the reasons why the walk of a man of God, a woman of God, sometimes, I wouldn't say lonely, but it's an alone walk. Because what happens is when you get too close to some people, the familiarity steps in, and it's not good for them. Because then they can't receive in the same way, and they rob themselves of the blessing that could be flowing from you, because now they see you as ordinary. So you find that you would find a lot of men of God, they don't have a huge circle of people that could be very close to them. It could probably even explain to an extent why Jesus would have chosen out 12 and then the 3 who were very close to him, who went, on the Mount of Transfiguration and so with him. Because the closer they were with him and the more familiar they are, it's the greater risk you had of taking him for granted and possibly not receiving all that you could receive, because God pours great things into people that we will consider to be ordinary, and we could miss it because of that. So that's a big lesson for us there, right? And the blessing that should have come from Jesus to these people who were not honoring him because they saw him as ordinary, it says in the scripture, and he could there do no mighty work. In that place, he could not do a mighty work, save that he laid hands on a few sick people and they were healed. So he was able to do like little things, only for those people who did not see him as ordinary and did not look down on him because he was a carpenter, because they knew him from the neighborhood. You see? And so those are things that we have to be mindful of. So the same thing could happen to employers and managers and stuff like that. Because if you see the people in your employ as though they're so ordinary, subordinates, under you, as though they don't deserve that honor, you could miss out on some great blessings that could flow through them. Great blessings. Because when you look at it, think about Naaman. You remember Naaman the leper? Naaman, he needed to be healed. And he had a servant. It was a little servant girl in his employ, right? That said, you know what? We have a prophet in Israel who could heal you if you go to him, right? So it had to be that Naaman and his wife and all of them treated this servant well. And so that blessing for Naaman to be healed was able to flow from his servant. Yeah? So these things are so critical when it comes to human relationships. You see, I tell you, all relationships are important to God, and the blessings come when we honor in every single case. I mean, think about Jesus. Jesus washed the feet of his disciples because servanthood was so important to him. So he even washed the feet of his disciples. So we need to see how God feels about servanthood. And so we spoke about the masters and that we should be treating those under us as though we're serving Jesus. But then let's look at it from the servanthood side now. And Jesus demonstrated this, as I said, when he washed the feet of his disciples, right? And all masters, something to remember is that you're always answerable to someone. Everybody at every level is answerable to someone. So the same way that you want to be treated by the person that's over you, you need to treat those under you the same. And if you say, well, I am the biggest and the highest and the best and there's nobody above me, then there's God. Yeah, and you want to receive certain things from God. God is everybody's master when it comes down to it, right? And so we need that principle follows through. So with servants now, he says, how do you serve? Serve with goodwill, as I said, not as men pleasers, but we are God pleasers. We are serving, with that attitude as though we are serving the Lord. Same way that the masters are to deal with the subordinates as though you are dealing with Jesus himself. So we're serving as though we are serving Jesus. And hear what the scripture says. It says, let us not be weary in well-doing. That's Galatians 6 and 9. Don't get weary in doing the right thing. Don't get weary in doing it and you're in the background and maybe the manager isn't seeing. God sees and God rewards. It says because in due season, you're going to reap your reward if you don't faint, if you don't give up on serving and doing it with integrity, doing it without eye service. It doesn't matter who sees. It doesn't matter. You do it and you say, they don't even know what I do in here. That's okay because God sees. And God rewards, right? When you look in the scripture, as I said, there are rewards for and blessings for godly servants. And we receive the same blessing that would have come to the person that we serve. And I'm going to explain that, right? In the scripture, it says, Matthew 10:40-42, it says, he that receiveth you, receiveth me, Jesus was saying. And he that receiveth me, receiveth him that sent me. What is he talking about with this receive? He that receives you receives me, and if you receive me, you receive my Father. In other words, he was saying. In other words, it means he that favorably receives you, or honors you, or serves you, he's doing it to me, and he's doing it also to my Father. That is how God views it, right? And hear what it says. And he that honors or serves or receives a prophet in the name of a prophet, guess what? He receives the reward of the prophet. So you get the reward of the person that you honor. So the same way that there's a special honor on the prophet when you serve or you receive or you favor or honor that servant, you get the same blessing. He said, and he that receives or honors or serves a righteous man, right, will receive the righteous man's reward. So you get that reward. And then hear what it says. And whosoever shall give to drink unto one of the least of these, unto one of these little ones, ordinary people, a cup of cold water, only in the name of disciple, verily I say unto you, he shall in no wise lose his reward. So there is a beautiful reward for even when we serve ordinary people. He said, one of these little ones, give them a glass of cold water. And he said, you're not going to lose your reward. It's going to be a beautiful reward. Right? So Jesus said, he said, listen, and this is where we see that he receives anything that we do to honor another in relationship, when we serve well, when we are godly servants. He said, listen, he said, I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. I was naked, you clothed me. Right? I was in prison, you came and you visited me. And they said, when did we do this for you, Jesus? We don't remember doing this for you. And this is what he said, inasmuch as you have done it unto the least of these, you have done it unto me. So service like that, when we learn that we serve as unto Jesus, serve as though we are serving Jesus, anything that we do is going to get that reward from him. A beautiful reward from Jesus. He is going to bless us when we serve others. It doesn't matter who they are. And I want to share the little video with you now because it's a beautiful example of servanthood and the experience that this guy had. So I'm going to be fancy and I'm switching to the video. Yeah?
I asked one of the butlers, excuse me, have you seen him? I'm looking for Jesus. Before the words could leave my mouth, somebody tapped me and they said, are you looking for Jesus? I said, yes. He said, he's over there. He pointed at the kitchen and all of a sudden, out comes this butler, dressed like all the other ones, with food on a tray. He carries it to the table. He then walks up to me. The moment he approaches me, his stained clothing becomes white and his face becomes pure, brilliant light. So pure, I couldn't even look at him. I felt deeply uncomfortable, not because of the brilliance of the light that was coming from him, but that I was sitting at the table and the master of the ceremony was serving me food. He was always there, but I just never thought to look in the kitchen because it's the last place I was expecting him to be. He grabbed me, just put my teenage face like a vice in his hands, like a father does to his child. And I just remember seeing these beautiful brown eyes looking right into my soul. And he said, son, do you see what I'm doing? I stammered and I said, yes, Lord, I see. With a tear in his eye, conviction in his voice, he looked right into my eyes and he said, go back and do that for my people.
Yes, guys. So I hope you saw. I was really blessed by what he shared, because the background of what he's saying is that, he had this experience where he was taken up to heaven and he just wanted to find Jesus because he's at the big feast, right? And then when he did find Jesus, Jesus was one of the servants. And it reminded me of, and this is an older video that he did, I'd seen it before, but it reminded me of a dream that I had just around when we did ministry training. Some of you all will remember that. That was 2018. And I had this dream, and I dreamt that we were in it wasn't our church setting, but it was like theater seating. They have theater seating and then you have the podium there and stuff. And there was this Jewish man, he had all the Jewish garb, how they have the scarf that they put on there and stuff. And he was singing a song, sort of like, Sam da da Adonai, da 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 Adonai, that kind of thing. And I am well dressed, high heel shoes and everything. And he had this pen in his hand and he had a document there. And he said, I want you to sign. And I said, no, it wouldn't be me. It wouldn't be me to sign, He said, no, but I want you to sign. And he gave me the pen and I signed in the most beautiful signature that I have. My signature doesn't come out as beautiful. It comes out good in my dream, right? And he gave me the pen and I signed. And when I was finished signing the document, which to this day, I don't really know what that document was. I don't know what the Lord was revealing. But immediately as I was finished doing that, which, it seemed like something that, an honor of some kind. I went into the back to the kitchen and I threw off my shoes and they were asking me, Rev, you want anything? Can we, they wanted to serve me. And I said, no. And I threw off my shoes and I put on slippers and I said, let's go and serve those outside. And so we had all these people in the back and I went out to serve with them. And so what it said to me is that no matter what position God may give, you don't ever stop being a servant. Yeah? You just don't ever stop being a servant. So I wanted to share that with you all, and I pray that it will help us, in how we honor people, honor everyone, because there are blessings attached to it. All right? So God bless you all. Have a wonderful weekend. For those who are coming to church tonight, it's Friday night. I'll see you tonight in church, but have a wonderful weekend, and God bless you all.